Hiya, my name's Kofi, and I'm doing a series of videos now, starting with this, on the G format, the Vanguard Retro format for 2017. It stops at Ultimate Stride. It has a huge variety of decks, this being one of the first ones I really love. It's Altmile. Super aggressive deck, focused on having a low number of cards in hand through its ability Brave. So Brave's are always active when you have 3 or left cards in hand. And your whole deck revolves around keeping that status and keeping a lot of aggressive attacks. You could do things like 7, 8 attacks in your first stride, which is quite strong when they're all about 14, 15k, and they'll combo off each other, and it shows the deck plays. Starting off with Milius. This is your Forerunner. You can also use Electos if you want this. I found Milius a lot better. Electos is just better for me in the deck. So Milius, when thingy boosted hits an unit, goes to Soul, and you touch top 10 for 2 Altmiles. Really high consistency booster. I don't understand running Electos, so Electos is one I run of 3 of in the deck. So you can tap and give them 3k for Brave, but more importantly, Generation Break 1, start of each battle phase, you're and your opponents, this can turn on your G-Guard effects. You can Cancel Blast, put it in Soul, and all your Braves activate for the rest of the turn. Extremely important, or pretty much negates using Samuel. I don't run Samuel in this deck, just because it's just not needed to bind your hand face down. But yeah, Milius, Forerunner, extremely important card. Other grade zeros we've got Remedy Angel, 4 Belinus, 4 Lyridus, 2 Saragal, and 2 Courage Angel. Remedy Angel is a heal that all the decks have this kind of heal. You can, when it's used as a heal, that's a G-Guard, sorry, you can bind it in another heal, and either Soul Charge or Counter Charge one, which can be very important for a lot of decks. It's how they maintain their resources. But this deck is extremely important. I'd run, way more if I could, but this deck is very resource intensive. You want to win fast and hard. Belinus is just on attack with an Altmile. You can, it's in your Vanguard at least, you can put it in Soul, give it 5k, and then draw a card. Just simple, high consistency booster. Lyridus, you can just, when you've got Brave, put it in your Soul, give another unit of Brave, 5k. Just more power, extra Soul charges. The 2 stands we run are Encourage Angel and Saragal. Saragal, when he's placed on rear, he just gets the ability of GB1 Brave, draw a card, put it in the deck and shuffle, end of turn. And Encourage Angel, when it's placed, you choose up to 2 of the units, and those units get 3k, and it goes to the rest of the deck. So it's just recurring stands, because eventually this deck can get very low on resources, and you can just have a turn where you hit 3 stands. Just wipe the face of the map. 3 stands, your whole board, that gets to attack again, call more units. It's so combo with those. So, for the Sentinels, 1 Hope Keeper, 3 Regius. So, both different Sentinels, both have the ability to, put on G, discard, and protect. This one has GB2 Brave. When it's placed on G Circle, if you have a Vanguard with Altmile, you Soul Charge 1, and if the number of cards in hand is 1 or less, it can't be hit. So, at its base, it's a free Soul Charge for discarding this, essentially. It's best, it's a free Soul Charge that just lets you not take damage. It's just really good. It's extremely powerful. Now you think run forward this just extra advantage. Hope Keeper is very important. So standard Sentinel effect, and while it's Brave at GB1, when it's placed on the rear, end of turn it gets 2k, so it's an 8k base. And at the end of the turn, you can Counter Blast and then bounce it to your hand. So you could call this, so you've just got free call, and then return to your hand after, and you get a Sentinel for next turn, which also helps you maintain Brave. So yeah, I don't understand running 2 and 2, I don't understand even running 4 Regius, I don't understand running 4 Hope Keeper, but this is the ratio I like. I find myself wanting Regius a lot more, but Hope Keeper is super important to have access to, at least 1 per game. 2, arguably if you're facing a lot of aggressive decks, but yeah, for this ratio it's great. Grade 1s, the rest of them at least, I've only got 3 Felix, 3 Ascanius. Ascanius, when it's placed, counter charge and reveal an Altmile, which is important with Milius. So you want to have Milius to get an Altmile to reveal to Ascanius. That's probably your best start. And you can just, this is not even GB as well, you could just call a grade 7 Brave, which is almost always Philax. So, grade 7, I'm sorry, 7k. So, with a Brave, you just call Philax. Philax, with a Brave, he gets resist and it's an 8k base, which is insanely good, because most of your units are going to be Brave in the V slot. And GB2 Brave, if you have an Altmile, all front row gets 2k and resist. Your whole front row gets resist. This can be detrimental against things like Shadow Paladin, and it's played around by Kagero quite well, but things like Narukami can struggle. Anything just for spotted removal is just a bit less strong, and it's just a nice card to have. It's a good flat boost, it's a 6k overall boost really, and sometimes it just be a really good booster itself, and giving things resist is extremely powerful. I've won games alone where they just can't touch my board. It's just been set up the turn before. I haven't had to call any new units. I've had so much to defend with in hand, the next turn I just get Brave off. Grade 2 is the lifeblood of this deck. So this deck, a lot of its calls will be grade 2s into grade 2s. So you've got 4 Livero, 4 Suleiman, 2 Big Sword, 2 Redon, 1 Sepgal. So go through them. Livero, incredibly good card. If you don't have a unit with the Brave ability in Vanguard, you can't attack. Doesn't matter, you're almost always going to have Brave. If you're not having Brave, you're doing something wrong. When it attacks, you have Vanguard with Altmile, Counterblast, get a grade 2, just play it, accept itself. Really, really good. Insanely consistent. Next, Suleiman. If you got Brave, it gets 11k base, so pretty nice. And GB2 on Art Rear. Counterblast 1, discard a card. This is another discard outlet that's really important. So if you're stuck on 4 cards in hand, or you would like gone 0 cards in hand and attacked, and then you're triple drive, quad drive, and use a discard a card, Suleiman's really good for it. You can attack a Vanguard. If you got Vanguard with Altmile, grab a grade 2, and gets 2k. So that can also be Livero, which can then call another Suleiman. And if you've got the resources to loot these, you can just do huge attack chains. One of the other good call targets is Big Sword Angel. So cheaper 1 Brave. When it attacks, if you've got less cards in your hand than your opponent, it gets 5k per card. Now this is insane versus pile decks like OTT or Bermuda, like Prism especially, the slaughters. Because your opponent's drawn a lot of cards, got a lot of defensive advantage. Wow, this is now just a free 87,000 attacker. It's been with me before. And you could just chuck these both out with Livero and Suleiman, some of your strides. You've also got Redon. So this is on rear. GB2 Brave, during your turn, all of the units in your front row get 3k. So a lot of your buff squad is going to be Philax and Redon, and that makes some of the biggest change you can have. Because that's an extra 5k plus resists, which makes your front row so formidable, and it makes things like Suleiman 16k base. Livero can be 15k base, which is really, really powerful. They're hitting really good thresholds. You've got another ability where it's placed on R, which is the effect of your card, which a lot of these things are. So we have Suleiman, Livero, Loyal Strides, Altmiles, standard effect even per upkeep. You can just get 3k, and if it's got a card up in your G zone, you discard a card, another discard out the Suleiman. These are your 2 main ones for it. It gets boost. So this is now a full front row boost, and you have a 9k booster, which can be a little difficult to set up, but it's still worth to have. And Sepgal is pretty much your best second turn to ride into. You got a Soul Blast one and choose a card with Altmile, but you could just search for a 7k. So on V, or place on R from hand. And V is the important one here. This is your best V. You could run more, but it's a little bricky late game because it only searches the 7k with Brave, and Ascanius only works from hand. So a lot of the time you're also just getting Philax again. A lot of this deck will revolve around getting Philax out early to protect your board. And it gets, 2k when it's attacking with Brave, which is nice, 11k attacker. But yeah, that's your main attacking force. A lot of what you're doing is bringing out Livero, bringing out Suleiman, attacking. Next, we have grade 3s. We've got 4 Knight of Heavenly Decree, 3 Higher Deity Knight. So Knight of Heavenly Decree is your main Vanguard you're going to want to ride in because it has the best overall abilities. So at the beginning of the ride phase, choose a card from your hand, call it to art, and it gets 4k. Really powerful. This will, really importantly, trigger things like read on, which is extremely important because this would be a massive brick in hand without Knight of Heavenly Decree. It can be really good with Ascanius, which is nice because this is supposed to art from hand by anything, so it could be called, it could be superior called with Altmile. Then for its G stride in your turn, you just get to call a card from hand with Brave. Get 4k. Again, more power, more aggressive plays. And GB2 Brave, when it attacks, if you haven't strided, up to 5 of your rear guards get 4k with Brave, which is a really powerful attack. Because even if you can't stride, if you've got GB2, these guys are still hitting a lot of the time. Because almost everything here is GB2. If you start with Slayman, so a big sword. Deliverer is always on. So it's still got a really good fail case when you can't stride. I-89 is a little less good with it. When it's placed on V, or when it strides, you can Soul Loss with Brave ability specifically, which can be a little awkward sometimes, but it is not a huge amount of the cost. You just get a 1 card with the Brave ability. And this is why it's so good with Sentinels, Hopekeeper. So if you were to run 4 High Deity Knight, I can understand running 2 Hopekeeper. I did tinker with a build where it was 4 High Deity Knight, 2 Heavenly Decree, and then 4 Hopekeepers. And you would just try and set up big swing turns while maintaining a Sentinel in hand every single turn at the very least. And it was a bit gimmicky, but it was fun. I'd understand running it. It's very specific. You've got to have things like Kagura in the meta, or maybe things that have like DP as well. It's quite a good one. Dimension Police have massive Vanguard attacks, which you will need to buckle into. It's not as great in G format, but if it's in your meta, I can understand. It also, whenever it attacks GB2, Vanguard or rear, if you have Vanguard with the rare ability, gets 5k in a crit, which is just a good attacker. So yeah, the Vanguards can interchange. There's Blue Sky Knight, but it's just not great. In terms of G form, so G strides. I run a little bit of a weird version of G strides because I run stuff people not normally. Namely, Brave Lancer Dragon is a very weird one I will pick up. So Brave Lancer Dragon, it's very shiny, but it has GB3, and you have to counterblast 1. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can pay the cost. If you do, search deck up to 3 cards of the Brave ability, call them to separate rear, and for each card called, you discard a card from your hand. This is what I think is just better almost every way than Samuel. Samuel's good first turn, sure, great. Past first turn, this is almost the best thing, because you get any amount you want to discard. You can also search Hopekeeper again, so Hopekeeper synergy's there, definitely want it. And whenever a unit attacks, it gets 3k if you got Brave. So, blanket, everything gets bigger. Next we have the reason to run this deck, honestly, which is Immortal Holy Sword Fide. And once a turn, counterblast 1, flip a card from G, end a turn the unit gets, if your opponent has only 1 Guardian, just hit, regardless of power. So even if you're swinging into nothing, they have to do at least 1. Or more than 1, because if it's 1, it just hits anyway, even if it's lower. Which can really pressure their hand, because you obviously want to really pressure their hand a lot. And GB4 Brave, which is, to be honest, if you get GB4 with this deck, you're winning the game. This is your turn 5, maybe even turn 4. When it attacks, if you have a heart card with Altmile, you just get 3 cards. Just 3. And that could be like Suleiman, Liverot, and Feeds. And that just goes, yeah, here's even more stuff. Read on, get a booster. That Suleiman calls, Liverot calls, just keeps going from there. That is your win condition. It is almost guaranteed what you want to go into in a push turn. If not, Brave Lancer. But yeah, more solid feeds is just crazy good. I'm not running the other feeds. I don't think it's very good. I think there are better options. I understand why people run it, but it's just a weaker option than calling, in my opinion. Next, we've got Transcending the Heavens Altmile. So you can GB2, cancel last 1, flip a G-Zone if you got an Altmile, end the turn it gets when it attacks a Vanguard, you get to 1 grade 2 call it to rear, it gets 5k. And whenever during your turn, all the units in your front row get 2k for each face-up card in Divine Knight Altmile. Well, Aerial Divine Knight Altmile is our next card. So, this is just a really good turn 1, to be honest with you, because your turn 1's normally not particularly, or turn 1, first stride turn at least, is just never that insane. You have a lot of setup to do. You want GB2, GB3 sometimes for some cards, and then you can really start going into fights. You can really start going into Holy Lancer. But a good setup turn is Aerial Divine Knight into Transcending the Heavens, and you just actually flip itself. When it's placed on V, it gets all of your front row units get 3k. That's another more boost. So at this point, with these Suleimans and such, you're really hitting for like the 20s per attack, and you're getting 5+ per turn on average. And if you get 2 or more face-up in G zone, you just get a grade 2 and it gets 5k, which is just nice, just a good search for anything. Next, we've got another weird choice on my end, is a Holy Dragon, Luminous Hope Dragon. So you choose a face-down card from G, turn it face-up, and for each Holy Dragon, Luminous Hope Dragon, and G zone, end of turn, it gets 10,000. All your rear guards with the Brave ability get a K. So the rest of the turn, you just get 1k base on every Brave, which almost every card in your deck is. And whenever it attacks with Brave, if you have 2 or more face-up cards in the Brave ability in the G zone, Brave specifically. So that can be, not the best with some stuff. For example, Samuel, it won't work with. Somehow you get to it, obvious Avalon, but we'll discuss that in a second. You get a grade 2, quarter to rear. If you got 3 or more, it gets critical. So just another nice Vanguard pressure. This deck doesn't normally have a huge amount of Vanguard pressure, but if you need to put it through, you can put it through. Next we got Samuel. So Samuel is a special case. You don't have to run him. I think it's good in stored ball states. So Counterblast 2, when it attacks a Vanguard, if they've got 4 or less damage, and you've got 5 or more rears, you just ping. Which is it doesn't look great against Kagurus, but it's still a really good pinger. And 5 units is trivial for this deck. And, if they're at 4, it still hits them to 5, and that really puts a lot of pressure on. You can really get a lot of early pressure, emptying your hand early. Now, I'm running Orbius Avalon over Ultima. Ultima, I think, is a very, very good card, but a lot of the time, if you're ultimate striding, it's a little excessive, and you want your Vanguard to stay around. I would much rather Orbius Avalon just get any 5. They get 4k and it gets a critical for one counterblast, which really does come up quite a lot because you will go through G units like butter. It's very, very, very important. And I don't understand Ultima. Ultima's a very good card. What's wrong with the stands? You can normally hit about 11 attacks in the turn with Ultima, maybe 13. But to be honest, at that point, I'd rather have Orbius, and you're kind of doing the same thing. And this is actual card advantage. And if you're ultimate striding, you're either crushing them or desperate playing, and I'd rather desperate play into a full board call. For the G guard, you have 3 Defend Hold Dragon, 2 Divine Maskell, and 1 Igraine. Defend Hold Dragon is probably the reason to run Brave. So while it's got Brave, when it's placed on G, its Vanguard attack specifically, choose any unit with a Brave ability, can't be hit. Just straight up Sentinel. Extremely good. And almost your entire deck that's relevant is Brave. Next, you've got Divine Maskell, so GB1, it's one of those. You flip a G Guardian, so it's pretty strong. When it's placed on G, there's a Regard in your front row. Pay the cost, gets 10k. This is a 25k base, pretty much. You almost always have it. Plus, if you have Resist, just keeps it going. And it also flips up for GB8s, for GB3s, GB4s even. And this will really accelerate your game plan. So a lot of the time, you'll first turn, maybe Samuel or an Altmile into Divine Maskell plus Defend Hold, and that will just instantly get you towards your Lancer and eventually your Orbius. Igraine is just a good one. Brave, it's a 20k. And when it's placed on G, you can Soul Blast 1 with Altmile on your name, and it gets another 10k. So it's 30k base, just more defensiveness. And this is important with the Brave. So a lot of the time, if you're attacking with your Vanguard with the stride, and you've got more than 3 in hand, your grade 0 will just say, okay, now you can use defend hold, and still keep alive. So there's a few other things you can run. Obviously there's other feeds, which is a nice one. There is a few other different main deck cards. So there's other callers. So this is the core of 8 call, really. So these are the main 8 callers. You can run up to 12, but I think 8's the sweet spot. And I understand keeping different names, but for the best, this is just unconditional. This is kind of conditional, but a good cost. And I think the balance between these two is very important. And the gameplay loop works well. And yeah, any ideas for this deck, leave them in the comments. Sure to like and subscribe. I'll be doing a few other G decks I've got IRL soon enough. And obviously once I've built others, I'll do profiles on them. So yeah, like, subscribe, enjoy the video. Bye bye!